We are now live. Testing, testing, one, two, three. Doctor, is there a doctor in the house?
Yeah, he's here.
Nice. Good evening, Dr. Vickman. How are you?
Doing all right.
You're listening live to Kicking It, the action movie review show, the pre-hype show before we actually get into the Xtreme movie show with Englentine
Oh,
a little bit later tonight. So tonight,
oh, we're not the hype show. We're the main show.
we're the pre-hype show. We're the hype show. We got to outperform. We're not the big act here, but we have a special treat tonight. We have a movie that I'm going to talk about a little bit differently. We've been covering Chuck Norris movies, and tonight's topic is 1985's Invasion USA. And this represents from Chuck Norris a huge departure from the films that we've covered recently, A Force of One, The Octagon, and of course last week, Good Guys Wear Black. So all I'm going to describe this as for people that haven't seen it, or the people that haven't know exactly what I'm talking about, especially with the pictures I've tweeted, is that in 1985, you're probably about peak Americanism that you could get with the A's and just how awesome it was that this spirit of America somehow would just find a strong enough vessel to inhabit temporarily and just create a brief template so you could go and spend a few hours on a afternoon watching a movie or listen to a song or watch something on TV where you just went, yep, done, America, I'm going to go out and kill everybody and America is number one. And that's what this movie is, because it's not a Chuck Norris movie. It is a movie about America.
Oh,
And in many ways, it's Chuck Norris's Rocky IV with Clubber Lang, or I'm sorry, Rocky IV with Ivan Drago, not Rocky III. So to me, I'm going to simply say that this is an action movie that has Chuck Norris in it. Thank you, America. It's a little different than what we've covered. Does not mean it's bad. It just means it's different. So for me, wow, what a departure. It's his first of a big film contract he had with Canon Films. They doubled the budget. And you can see it in about 3 or 4 sequences where all the explosions of money went to. But all in all, this movie totally epitomizes what the 80s are all about. Americanism, exceptionalism, as we like to say, and just plain old-fashioned badassery and a high kill count. Not a very good movie if you want to talk about in terms of movie, but let's just talk about what we enjoy and the fact that we liked it. So, Doctor, after my little introductory rant, you've never seen this movie before, correct?
I've never seen it though, but I'm a fan of action movies. So, I mean, I can see why some people who might not like this, because in this movie there's only 2 kicks. There's no martial arts. It's just 2 kicks that he delivers to the bad guy at the end.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's just like gunfire, grenades going off. You got tanks firing. It's like it's explosions, man. It's just like your Rambo movie without Rambo. You
Yeah.
have Chuck Norris, but it takes place in Miami, so you get to see Florida.
Yes, and a big part of that was shot just a little bit north of Miami in a place called Fort Pierce. So the big scenes where he's out there wrestling with the alligator and then people trying to convince him to join. It's pretty neat because I will go back up a little bit and say, as a kid, we had a family doctor who was Cuban. And I always thought of that too because Cubans were considered different than Mexicans or Puerto Ricans. And the bottom line is it's quite a... If you think about some stuff in the 80s, it's pretty dark, but because Americanism was so high, everyone just kind of ignores some of the dark things, like Bill Cosby turned out to be a pedophile. He just loved to show back in the day.
Right.
I mean, here you start off with a bunch of Cuban immigrants, it appears, coming there, and the guy, Lynch, the actor who portrays the Rostov, the Ruski, the commie, the bastard, the evil, the bad dude, the boss, he opens fire on all of them, and you're like, what an asshole. And so you're like, yeah, Chuck Norris is going to get him. So again, they do a good job of setting up what Chuck's going to come up to at the end of the movie.
You also forget that they were posing as the American Coast Guard. They had the flags on the uniforms. So here's this little kid in there, and he's like, oh, it's Americans, and nope. And then you find out after they shoot the boat, which should have sank after all that bullet fire they shot at the boats. It's a wooden boat. It's not like it's made out of metal.
Not in the 80s movie.
So they're shooting that, and and he brings up some guy, obviously someone who must have been trying to smuggle drugs out of the country, or someone. So basically, they needed the drugs to buy guns. So they must have picked up somebody, who was smuggling drugs into Miami, took over his boat because they went in and bound the boat. Because after they kill those people, they lift up the boards, and he was just like, what do you mean, like thousands and thousands of just packages of just cocaine in there, pure cocaine.
Yeah,
So,
and cocaine was a thing in the 80s, let me
well,
tell you.
yeah,
I mean, that's just about in any show, too. We didn't
that was
really start
Miami
talking
Vice,
about
man.
crack until later. Oh, yeah. I mean, 85, oh, it's cocaine, absolutely. I mean, it helps you party even longer and enjoy America even
But
more. I see Jay's
but
in channel. Good evening, Jay. You're not late, sir. We just got started on. We're covering, of course, Invasion USA with Chuck Norris, 1985. Just a badass overall American action flick there, too. So, yeah, so Chuck Norris, of course, is this guy that used to work with the company and gets basically convinced to kind of go back into it because they kill his partner. And the thing about this movie that's different for me is I like action where it's fisticuffs. It's just mano a mano. There's something feral and just human about it. This movie's nothing but explosions. Jesus Christ, this thing just there's a lot of little evil scenes in here too. I mean, so these bad guys get the drugs,
yep.
trade them for a bunch of guns. Then of course they just start doing little acts of terrorism. Trying to watch what I say here, of course, with the algorithm, but that's bottom line what it is. There was an interesting note about Chuck Norris saying that he had heard about how at this time that there's terror cells asleep everywhere in the United States, and that at any time, should some of them go off, things could happen. And so that was kind of the idea for the story, and that's what you see here. So you see like the guys, trying to blow up like a school bus full of children,
Yeah.
and all sorts of stuff. It's kind of vicious, actually.
This movie was written by Chuck Norris and his brother.
Yes, I think it's Aaron Norris, who I think is the director, is involved in a lot of stuff with Chuck. Yeah. So after we get started off here and we kind of get the stage set here in Act 1, what do you make of what's going on?
As we get into the week, as obviously it's Christmas time in Miami, because well, being from Wisconsin, there'd be snow, but you guys live where it's just like sun all year long.
That's what we call the dry season, where the high might only be 75 to 80 in December.
Yep.
Once we get a cold spell, it might be 70.
So you see this, you cue this cute little town, and it shows like they're decorating their Christmas tree, which I don't think would grow in Florida. Do you guys have pine trees down there, really?
Oh yeah, we have lots of different kind of pine, but we have a ton of pine down here. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they're decorating this tree, and then the little girl is fighting with her brother, like who wants to put the star on the tree outside. And then the mom calls for dinner. Come here. So they come in there. The little kid runs out. The little girl, she runs back out to put the star on the tree. And meanwhile, Rostov is out there with his group of buddies and all. He's got this rocket launcher, and he basically starts opening a fire on every single suburban home in there. People are screaming, and the thing about this is that he has unlimited rounds. You never see him once load another round in it. It's a single use, and he's just firing
at its best.
So that was kind of hokey, but I mean, like, it's like him. I felt like I was watching RoboCop. You have like the gratuitous like violence,
yes,
and it's like kind of a comedy a little bit, but even though it's meant to be serious. So yeah, it's like it's just crazy just seeing this, and then you see like you see before they even do, I don't want to skip too far ahead, but there are other mentionable actors in here. You got Eddie Jones, who played Jonathan Kent and Lois Clark, the '90s Superman.
Yes.
And you have Billy Drago.
Yes, who just died recently.
Yeah, June 24th. He was only 73 years old. I'm not sure what he died of, but I mean, it's sad to see him go. He was in a lot of stuff. But anyway, Billy Drago plays the coke buyer. Yes. Who they turn around and they said they wanted to buy. He was buying the coke, and then he was selling them the guns. And they turn around and the guy Rostov just double crossed him. Because he has this Cuban hottie who's smoking, doing lines off the table, which is funny. She's doing a little bit of lines, and then else you see one of the line, and all of a sudden you just like a huge pile. The next scene later, it's like a big goof. They must have stopped, but he ends up slamming her head onto the table and basically blooding her nose. And then he shoots what's his name, Billy Drago, a couple times in the stomach. And the funny thing about this is though, and you hear the cops coming in the distance, and you see the owner who's running the hotel or apartment complex. He runs up, he grabs the drugs, and he runs away. Yeah. So that's how they got their guns. I mean, so
Yeah, I got to tell you, the thing that struck me about this movie, like I say, if you started watching the Chuck Norris films and you kind of got an order, which we've kind of done, you'll
Yeah.
see that Chuck Norris is doing more of the action thing, and he's got his finishing move, the roundhouse kick that he's developed. His acting's gotten better. The budget's starting to go up, but this one just goes over the top and just sends it into pure action movie, not Chuck Norris films, but action movie films that have Chuck Norris in it. And, he doesn't have he doesn't, unfortunately, it's the 80s. He still could have rocked a turtleneck or the members only jacket, which he's not doing. He's got the great beard that he's known for now. Back then, he kind of had some different looks. So, facial hair speaking, I'm a little disappointed in this fashion selection, but well, the only thing that matters is people like, say, Christy Miller, who's in channel, that's saying hello, good evening, Christy. Maybe this is a new look for Chuck, but the thing with Chuck is when you watch this film and you go look at all the GIFs and the memes or whatever the hell they're called out there and the little
Memes,
video clips, memes, whatever, that look he has where he's staring and not blinking, that's the whole movie.
That was the original Batman glare.
I mean, it was Batman before Batman. It was like, Chuck is an asshole. He's not he's just, I'm going to kill you. It's time.
Yep.
Or it didn't work, and all these other freaking blow-up scenes are coming up. But man, so anyway, you get to where the United States is like being taken over, and you're like, really? Kind of. They call in the National Guard. They set up the command center in Atlanta, and all that too. But in the second act is where they've kind of started doing some of the more creative types of scenes, and the scenes just purely exist for Chuck Norris to go be a badass. So, which scenes stick out to you?
Well, the news reporters are seeing where he meets her at the beach after the couple are making on the beach. Here comes the guy who's the right hand man for Rostov. They're making out. These two teenagers out there on the beach. He comes up. He puts the silencer on the gun, and then he goes to fire the gun. You don't hear the silencer part whatsoever. It sounds like he has no silencer on. So
that was in the explosions.
Yeah. So that was a big goof. Then that's when they do their Normandy thing launch, where they had all these thousands of guys come off these boats onto the beach, and then they get into these trucks that are waiting there. I'm like, nobody would notice all these 18 or 50 or different trucks just parked there with the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean he meets her there. So then after that, you see here Chuck Norris, who's basically been hired by this government, basically telling him, "Here, we want you to go kill this guy." And he's like, "Well, this is the time where this is where you get the alligator scene where he's just right afterwards he's wrestling the alligator because the guy sells him, I guess, his buddy.
Alligator meat tastes like chicken.
So anyway, he's on his boathouse. He's got his little armadillo, like little baby armadillo as a pet, which is just weird.
They're all over the place here. Huh? And roadkill that's the number one specialty. That and squirrels.
I always associated them with New Mexico and Texas. I didn't think they'd be in Florida.
But they definitely are, yeah.
So anyway, where was I? He's at the boathouse. The government agent comes up to him, basically tells him, "Here, we want you to go kill Rostov. He's back in town and all." And he's like, actually, Chuck Norris looks at him. He's like, "I would have killed him back then, but basically you effers wouldn't let me kill him." So he's like, "I don't want the job." But then Rostov comes to kill him. Ends up killing his buddy on the boat. He gets up 2 shots on and there's 6 or 7 different fan boats. Because remember this is Florida, there's swamps, so
it's supposed to be Everglades. Yeah, and they actually filmed
a
big sequence of it there too. Yeah. That's pretty authentic going down if you've ever been on river boats down there.
So you're already getting the riverboat vibes from that when you're watching this. Cause he's like this is kind of like when you watch any of the Jean-Claude Van movies, there's always one where he's with down in the bayou, in New Orleans. You get the fan boats. So to me, it's like seeing a movie filmed in the Everglades. It's a first for me. I've never seen that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, not that there's a lot, obviously, but
no.
To your point, I'd mentioned that this is a big budget movie for what Chuck Norris was normally used to working with. Normally, it was a small budget, and it definitely shows. This feels like a big film.
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of it listed as at 12 million is what the budget is, and they brought back in 17 or something like that.
Yeah. So 50%. Yeah. So it was a hit.
So yeah. But yeah, they come to kill Chuck Norris. There's a guy Rostov. He's like, I want this man dead. And he's like, what's wrong with his name? He's like, only one man. And he's like, no, we're gonna kill him. So they go. They kill Chuck Norris. They blow up his house. He survives. He gives like the little funeral for his friend, lights the house on fire, then leaves. Gets into his 1978 GMC K1500 pickup truck.
I wonder if it's supercharged.
I was thinking that too, because he drives it through the whole entire movie. He has and it has, of course, it has the rack and it has the spotlights on top.
Oh yeah,
because you can't have a truck
for off-roading down here.
Yeah. So after that, he's driving around, and while these guys are already invaded, they're pretending to be police officers. They're pretending to be military guards, and Chuck Norris can spot them a mile away. So Chuck, what was it? He came across these military group guys, and we're just about to open fire on this at the grocery store. Because everybody was rioting because at this time they were on military lockdown. They can only have only have 12 cans per person or something like that, 12 items.
Mm-hmm.
So military guys, these guys goons, were gonna they're gonna open fire on the crowd. Chuck Norris arrives and just starts blowing away with machine guns. He just drives in, and of course the reporter there who saw him at the beach, she happens to be there, and the guy this guy, I think his name was Nico, was the guy who was gonna held the journalist hostage, and she's like, Hunter, you son of a bitch, do something, and he's like, and this guy's back around the corner because he doesn't see Chuck Norris. He's friend. Chuck Norris comes up behind him and basically just knocks him out or shoots him in the back, grabs his gun, and he's like, and she's like, it's like, what do you say? He's like, basically, her response was like, holy shit, what the hell is your problem? And he's like, you told me to do something. And he's like, and she's bitching him. He's like, well, I better go before you start to get angry. He gets in his truck and then drives away.
Yeah, he's got maybe one page of dialogue in the entire movie. And I got
the one-liners though.
Yeah, they are, and I don't mind that because Chuck was never given a lot of these kinds of special lines and setups like you would, like the I'll be backs and only in a rerun, all these types of things, the go fuck yourself that Von Damme would do or whatever. I mean, or you fucked up. In this movie, Chuck just has man, I mean, you watch the highlights and it's really the build up to him because I got to tell you, this reporter, I don't even know why the hell they had her in here, because she's got a lot of interest. She's completely useless to the entire story. It's like, all right, you're annoying. Just get off the damn thing. I understand you got to give me about 4 or 5 minutes before Chuck goes and kills and shoots somebody else until the big finale. But God, she was awful.
So after this, I think it is either before or after this, you get to the mall scene.
Yes, the mall scene. Malls were, I cannot tell you, if you've not experienced it, I cannot tell you how huge the mall scene was back in the 80s. I know John Hughes filmed them in movies in malls and stores revolved around them, and they were cutesy and all that crap, but man, it was a place to go. They had arcades. You'd go looking for members of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever your predication was. It was an event to go to one. It was just absolutely awesome. The food courts were great. It just wasn't the vibe that it is today. I mean, deadmalls.com, exists for a reason because they're all dying out. But back then, to see somebody on TV totally destroy a mall, I think that was the first. It's badass.
But yeah, so basically the setup is where you got this guy. He's dressed in a suit. This is Christmas. Everybody's shopping, so everybody's got presents up. His guy's got a present inside a bag. He just goes to set it down at its counter, and he walks away. And this couple, they're saying that guy left his. She tells her husband, that guy left his package. Go help the guy. Go, So the guy's like, sir, you dropped your package. The guy's like, oh fuck this, there's a bomb in there. He doesn't want to get blown up, so he's running away. And this guy, he's like, sir, and all of a sudden he starts running through the Santa's playland or Santa's setup. North Pole. The mall cops are chasing him, and as soon as he gets to the other end, he's got his stooges come up and they just open fire on everybody. And then, of course, the bomb then goes off. And here, all of a sudden, you hear your Chuck Norris. You hear the rubbing the engine, see the headlights. He just busts right through the mall doors, drives right in, and he just starts shooting everybody with these 2 little Uzis he's got strapped onto his holster.
I had BB guns bigger than those little Uzis. I mean, you see the bullets come out, and you just hear the sound. It is just so bad. You're like, okay, if this is how the movie is going to be, just take me for the ride.
Yep. But I mean, that was his main choice of weapon this whole entire movie. He just had his 2 twin Uzis with him.
Well, you had mentioned earlier about the blowing up the neighborhood kind of scene too, with unlimited ammo. Well, here you got kind of a mall scene where, of course, absolutely nobody who's an innocent bystander gets hurt at all. Maybe a little scratching or maybe a drop of blood on the floor. That's about it. But unless it's written into the movie, not in an 80s movie, not when the spirit of America is inhabiting Chuck Norris or anybody at the time this movie is going on, because they actually got a chance to destroy a neighborhood in real life and blow it all up, and the mall. So they just went bonkers for it. And that's where all the budget went. I mean, I thought that was kind of neat because that's a legitimate mall. It's not one or two stores. I mean, that's pretty badass. Yeah, I think they shot it outside of Atlanta in the South. Yep. That's where you see lines too.
Yeah, so he's in there, like, you know, he's having a shootout with the bad guys, you know, he's killing them. They all have their M16s, I believe they were, with grenade launchers attached to the bottom, as if those big black tubes were, I guess.
Yep, the attachments.
You don't see that in the movies. You just see them with the M16. You don't see the grenade tube. But you know, so the guy who left the bomb, he's trying to get away with his two buddies. They go inside. There's this. The setup, the scene before this, before I think it was all blows. There's a mall cop guard who's guarding this brand new Nissan 720, which you know off rally over. You could win basically the raffle thing, and he's watching to steal a kid. He's chewing bubble gum because you know the kid's gonna do something. So the little kid's chewing. He waits the guy's not looking. He throws the gum and it lands in the windshield. This is the most pointless scene in this whole entire mall setup. I don't know why they had it. Because the mall cop runs away and chases after the kids. Come on, you little brat! You know, he's like. So anyway, the bad guys are now going into this car. He's trying to hotwire it. Well, basically, Chuck Norris is opening a fire with unlimited ammo, and somehow he's not hitting the truck. He's not hitting the Nissan. I'm thinking this truck would have been destroyed. So obviously, it's
right. Eric's talking about low production value in there. No, it's not low production value for Chuck Norris. I think it was at the time in the 80s as a $12 million film. He got about $2 million, and I think they spent $2 million for the sequences in actually the Everglades and a little bit more on the mall scene. So whatever was left over was for all the big scenes. So the big shootout scene at the end, which we're getting ready to get into, is something that it's just constant. Leftover stuff, if you will, and all that too. So I'm checking Beckman because it looks like he's AFK or got dropped, so he's going to try to hop back on here. But yeah, so anyway,
sorry about that.
Oh, you're back in. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know what heck happened.
That most of the budget it was used for the big stuff there too, including the mall scene and what you were just finishing up talking about.
But yeah, I don't know what happened to my phone. It just decided randomly cut out, so I had to connect the Wi-Fi.
We are still live.
Yes, unfortunately. No, so I mean, I got cut off. He took the girl hostage and drove off with her like on the freeway, holding onto this blonde, with the arm while he's driving, and she's kicking and screaming, I don't know how he's able to stay on the road. And Chuck Norris is happens to see their porter pull up at the mall. Remember he said she's useless? Nah, he just used her car. She had a Mustang, 85 Mustang, I believe, or was it a 60s? Maybe it was a 60s Mustang. Anyway, he chases her after her, and then he's got the reporter trying to, he's pulling over. He's trying to rescue the girl. Finally, they manage to get the girl into the car, and then the bad guys are, we're gonna throw a grenade at him, and he bumps their truck with the car, and the grenade ends up falling on the floor, and they're like, oh shit! They crash, and the whole truck explodes. So this is like error. Like he's saying him versus like Chuck Norris is badass basically. And anybody going against him is basically like the Chuck Norris joke. They don't stand a chance. Like these are stooges. I'm wondering where did this guy get all these thousands of guys? Did he promise to pay them, or did they're just like rent a stooges?
You would get these, and like I say, these Americanism type movies where it was just like, okay, let's just fill them out. We don't care where they come from, their backstory, because they're just ones for Chuck to feast off as he goes up the bad guy food chain, as I like to call it too. So, because after the mall scene, you're like, oh man, that's pretty big too. You have to go in a different direction. So I think after this is the church scene, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So what happens there?
So this is their these bad guys. They get this another briefcase bomb. They must have a bunch of these. I don't know why they don't just use a worker bomb, the C4 or whatever.
C4 baby, suitcase bomb.
Or their bazookas, man. They have unlimited bazookas in this movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, they hook up the wire to they set the briefcase bomb, in front outside this church where everybody's just gathering, because right now you're in military lockdown.
This is funny.
So there the guy attaches the wire to the bomb. As he's rolling it back, they're like, okay, they're all grouped across.
We've got a hot signal now.
Yep. We're gonna blow us up, and nothing. And the guy flips another switch, and all of a sudden he's Chuck Norris is like comes with the roof of the building behind him, and he's like,
and he's whispering, so of course they can still hear him on the ground.
I know, and like he's like, didn't work, huh? No, it will. He throws the briefcase at him and then explodes.
It's just insane. Yeah, I mean,
like I said, this is like a kind of like a Bruce Willis Die Hard mixed with Rambo.
Yeah, I mean, I know that everything was, like I said, going big and lots of guns and explosions and all that too, but I'm watching this going, come on, really? They tear up a mall. They're invading the United States through Florida. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculousness. And you're watching going, yep, okay, well, how are they going to top it next? And as we get towards the end of this movie here, they kind of at least attempt to, I think. Yeah,
so
go ahead.
I was just going to say, before the mall scene, the reason Chuck Norris was able to figure out where it was, because he talked to one of his I guess someone he knows, a criminal or at the bar, and like if you remember that scene, another cool scene was the fact that this guy boss, he's like, well, are you buying or selling? He's like, and there's like he's basically told the dude to get out of the way, and the guy he's like, well, I'm gonna. You hear a guy holding a beer, he's got threatened. Chuck Norris grabs his hand, squeezes the beer bottle, and the guy's like, oh shit, he runs to the bathroom. So there's that scene. Then he got the info, and then Chuck Norris, it takes him to this scene where there's like a little like a hotel area, like a Cuban area hotel, and there's one dude's like he's like they're supposed to meet at the mall, and the guy's like, well, I was like, nah, I want to get laid, man, screw you guys. So he goes up there, and Chuck Norris is hiding in there, and like basically like stabs a knife onto this dude's hand, the table, and this woman starts screaming, like, "Oh shit, what the hell?" I hate it
when that happens.
I know. She runs downstairs, grabs these two guys who are already pissed off because these guys pulled up, in their Camaro, and ran over their bucket when they were washing their car. They were busy washing like a red Cadillac. And
Cadillacs, Camaros, man, these 80s had cars.
So anyway, so Chuck Norris is up there, like they think they're gonna like, well, what's just going on here? Like, they're gonna they think that Chuck Norris is this crazy guy, they're gonna beat him up, throw him out. This big dude, buff dude comes up, obviously he's kind of like an Arnold or Lou Ferrigno wannabe. Comes up, he's gonna like, throw up him, and Chuck Norris just basically just knocks him down, and they both run out. They're like, fuck this, because right before this you have Chuck Norris with the grenade. They're like, we're done. He's like, and it's funny because the guy who owns the convertible, he's like, move out of the lane, bitch. And he runs. He pushed the lady out of the way because they're all scared. So
basically, Chuck, he's in Michael Myers mode. He's just kind of stalking. He's not really, running and chasing too much unless he's driving his car or something. I mean, he's just like, he's got that sense where I know where the bad guys are. I'm going to walk towards them and they're going to die.
Yeah. So he puts the grenade. What's funny about this, he puts the grenade in the guy's hand. He's like, well, if you live, tell Rostov it's time to die. And then he walks out. So what's the guy do? Chucks a grenade out the window. It lands in the convertible, which was supposed to be. Remember, the Camaro's parked out there. Guess what? The Camaro's not there. So either the guys must have left, or this was a big goof, and it blows up the Cadillac. So these guys are like, son of a bitch. So that was a scene that set it up. That was for the mall. That's how he was able to figure out where it was. But I mean, this movie is like, it's got so many zingers in it. It's just, I'm not used to Chuck Norris zingers.
Well, yeah, and again, taking a step back here, I mean, this movie is glorious in what it does. I think for Chuck, you're going, okay, I'm not used to this. Is he really going to be like this the whole film? And if you're a fan of 80s films or you've seen a lot of them, yeah, this is what's going to happen. And you just sit back and you're like, all right, time to get Norris. I mean, when we were talking about Good Guys Wear Black on the last episode of Kicking It, I talked about how I didn't remember much of this movie, but I was Norrising all over myself about the two scenes where he's running down the ski mountain and then he karate kicks in the air somebody off the motorcycle bike and kills them. Just smashes their face or open. And then, of course, the other scene, too, that's real famous for, where he's running on the street and he jumps through the moving car through the windshield and kills the guy. I mean, I'm like, that's what I want to see. I want to see build up to really awesome scenes. But here you're going to like, nope, he's just going to shoot you, and the body count's probably at about 400 unofficially now off screen, but maybe 50 or 60 on screen,
Yep.
and it just is only going to continue to go up.
Yeah, this movie, like I said, they've had so many errors, but I mean, it was great though. I mean, there's explosions. If you're going here for martial arts, you're necessarily a martial arts movie.
Yes,
This
it's
was
an action movie, not martial arts. You know, kicking it, we say kicking it, but that's because we like martial arts, but it's an action movie.
So I apologize if I'm Norrising all over myself and live. Sorry, Jay.
Just clean up.
Yep. I promise to wash my hands first. So.
This is the point in the movie where we're getting to where they go, okay, we're martial law is going to be declared. We're going to go ahead and get one or two more Chuck Norris scenes out before the final fight, because really this bad dude, Rostov, he's played by this guy Richard Lynch, who was in a bunch of 80s stuff, and he was always like a B-level dude. But the thing about him as a kid, and when you watch him, I don't know if he had pox as a child or something, because like basically you get some shots depending on how the light would hit his face, where when you see like his neck and half of his face, it's not burned looking, but he's just got this very distinguished, I'll say, look to him. And the dude's just, it's not an ugly look, but it's like this mean, hard look, and you're like, this guy looks like an evil bastard.
He looked like the D-level version of well, maybe a C-level version of Christopher Walken. The way with the white hair and the way he dressed.
A harder, meaner look than Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, because you don't see too much of him on here, because that's not what the movie is. The movie is just Chuck doing stuff. I mentioned about the terrorist putting the bomb on top of or on the side of the school bus there, and he drives his truck and he goes and he throws it in her car. My wife is going, "Oh Jesus, come on, really? Come on, it's Chuck Norris. This is going to happen."
I love the line. He's like, "Hey, you forgot this," and he drives away, and it blows up.
We'll talk about where he kind of gets arrested and then goads Rostov into the final act.
Yeah. He gets on the. I don't know why they're like in the comments. First of all, he's not in handcuffs, because the guy Eddie Jones, who plays the head captain, he's like, you think you're who the hell you think you are, but no one's above the law, basically, blah blah blah. They take him down to the station. And he's not in handcuffs whatsoever. They're surrounded by all the military and all that stuff around him. This is like the headquarters. And they like before they never even showed him being interrogated whatsoever. So which was so weird. Though, why did they even say they're going to interrogate him? But he sets up the scene where the newspaper comes in the face, and he's like, "You have any comments?" And he's like, "Well, I just killed a bunch. I just killed Nico. Rostov, you're next." And they're like, it's time for you to die. And Rostov, you see him out next scene throwing the old 80s like tube TV on the ground, and he basically makes the most blunder error, like every villain does, like the super villain. I'm going to confront him. I want this man dead. So he sends all his men to the station, to try and kill Chuck Norris. So it's like, and then they go in there, they're shooting every single room, they're like Chuck Norris is in there, where you finally see Chuck Norris is a helicopter pilot, because it's not an action movie unless the bad guy's got a helicopter, because that's how they ride. Rostov rides in a helicopter. Norris.
Well, let's back up for a second. Talk about Rostov, because obviously he's not going to make it much longer.
No.
But I wanted to make 2 points about him in the scene that you're talking about, because I think the scene is significant. Okay.
Yeah.
So Chuck Norris goads him in, and it's like watching an old wrestling promo. You're like, I want to see this guy die. I'm calling him out. And of course he takes the bait, right? Yeah. So he's rocking a pretty decent, not turtleneck, but just full on sweater. One of his bad dudes, he's got a black members only jacket on.
Yeah.
now, as a segue before you continue, because I'm just trying to flesh this out a little bit, because this is a very important question that people may not have realized in channel that I want to point out, because I've done it. I don't think you've done it, but I wonder if Jay or some other people in channel have. He's sitting there and he's watching 3 or 4 TVs, because you didn't have picture-in-picture, so you had to watch the different feeds on different TVs. And he picks up one TV and he just throws it down and he gets all pissy. Okay, my question for you is this, sir. Have you ever picked up one of these old big TVs and thrown them?
I had a 26-inch Panasonic that died, and I threw it in a dumpster, and you hear it, but I didn't do it while it was plugged in or like that stuff, like this guy did.
But I mean, you didn't throw it out of violence.
No.
Oh. If
No.
anybody in the channel has not done that, you owe it to yourself if you ever get the opportunity to pick up something big, heavy that's made out of a lot of glass like that, that's a little bulky. Because you can, once you get up over your waist, as long as you don't throw your back out, you're doing pretty good. But throwing it down, there's just something cathartic about it. It's what I always like to refer to when I talk about 80s films, when we talk about how you'd see the old rotary phones were nice and heavy and you could club somebody to death with them. A big heavy TV set is fantastic. There's something great about it. So I just wanted to point that out.
No, I don't throw things. I have a gun that I go for shooting range. We're at my sister's house. We go shoot stuff. So
True.
that's how I get my rage, or calm myself down.
So raw stuff's taking the bait. He's basically saying, all right, all of us, we're going to go to the big boss level. We're going to go take him out.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, dude, this is the military. Military is like surrounded there. They have like everything there, and you're just gonna get slaughtered just for one guy. Try to kill one guy.
Well, you got unlimited ammo. You can do just about anything.
Yep. So
they assault the compound, and this is where you see about 10 minutes of people shooting, like on the left side of the screen to the right, and then when it go over to the right, you'd see people like with an explosion behind them, and then like bouncing forward, and then they do the same thing on the other side, and then they'd intersperse it with cuts of Chuck Norris just kind of like walking around from level. So this is like the raid before the raid, if you think about it.
Yeah. So yeah, you first don't see Chuck Norris into the top of the building at the helicopter, and the guy's in the helicopter. He's like, "Oh shit!" Because he sees, and because of course, what does he have? Do you remember what he had in his hands when the guy's trying to take off?
Oh God, it was an RPG, wasn't it? A log?
Yeah, it was
a multi-fire RPG. Because
my God, ladies and gentlemen, be seated. He has graced us with his presence. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hey, I am Peachy Keen. I just got finished watching a movie called Yesterday, but that will be talked about later. It's one of the things, I don't know if y'all talked about this, that is incredible about Invasion USA is all of the RPGs, all of the bazookas are multi-fire.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's an amazingly funny film. I don't think it meant to be, but yes.
No, as I told E, this is the first one I've ever seen where they have the M16s. All have grenade launchers on them, the long tubes,
and unlimited fire capacity.
Yeah, unlimited ammo. Yeah, it's a cheat code. Yeah,
it's a. I love this movie. It is so stupid. Once again, I've said this about a couple of films today. It's bad, but it's so good.
No, it's great.
Yeah, my favorite thing, and I've always loved this move. There's one scene where the bad guy who shoots the two kids on the beach. He's on the side of a building and he's waiting. He's looking around for Chuck Norris, and Chuck Norris just appears beside him. But the guy's got his gun near his head, waiting to lower it to fire at him. And Chuck just bends his wrist towards his head, and the guy out of panic blows his own brains out. I always thought that is smooth. Yep,
that was the reporter, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of smooth or great action scenes for Chuck Norris in this movie.
Yes, it's not. It's an action movie. I call it one of the. I had mentioned at the beginning that this is not a Chuck Norris movie. It's not even an action movie. It's the type of movie that could only be made in the mid '80s when Americanism, the spirit of it, would inhabit somebody, and Chuck Norris's vessel is strong enough to hold it for about 90, 100 minutes, so we could have something happen here. I said it's basically his Rocky IV.
Yeah,
I was about to say it's his Rambo 2.
Well, yeah,
because this is the Americans are one American is going to win over all of terrorism forever and ever and ever, and it's going to be Chuck Norris, just the way that Rambo won the Vietnam War for us.
This is Rambo mixed with Die Hard. You got your zingers, and you got a guy just going around. He's unstoppable. You can't kill him.
Yeah, it's it's so stupid. I do remember one of the things I thought was incredible, though. They don't do this anymore because of CGI. But in the 80s, there were a lot of trucks driving through a lot of buildings.
Yes.
And in this case, of course, they're kind of doing the Blues Brothers thing where he's driving through a mall. And there is one where the stuntman actually and he's right by the camera, so you can see everything. He gets caught up in some merchandise that the truck hits and is carried with it.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, that's an incredible stunt. And then, of course, they have the guy driving through the glass or riding on the side of the truck trying, he's Chuck Norris, but he's the stuntman, obviously. And he rides the truck through the glass. I'm thinking that would have so been CGI'd to hell these days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the glass would have been CGI. Everything in there. The whole scene.
And, man, I still am one of the people who say they should have had Oscars for stunts, because this movie is definitely a stuntman's movie.
Well, that's your stunt people are the ones who are doing the martial arts stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing too, you bring up a good point with CGI. I'd mentioned before how my preference for Chuck Norris films are the more martial artist ones, because basically, you have Code of Silence, maybe Firewalker, and then he just changes tacks, at that stage in his life, getting into his 50s and TV and what he does, so that he's no longer doing the films that we had seen. It's just the occasional action film. Maybe The Hitman in the early 90s was his last one, kind of semi-violent. But practical effects, stunts. I mean, I'm joking about how the budget was spent on his salary, 2 or 3 big scenes, and how it kind of looks a little cheesy watching it. But that being said, your point is fantastic, where there's still a lot of practical effects. And the thing, too, with practical effects, especially in 80s films, is you're not watching it for the effect itself. You're watching for all the background kind of stuff that's going on, too, especially with stunts. And we were actually talking about how now we're at the boss level, how this movie was basically like The Raid before The Raid, Die Hard before Die Hard. Yep. And I mean, honestly, it really is. So it's not like there's anything necessarily new, just a variation on a thing. But for Chuck Norris, this is brand new with a huge budget. So we're building up to the big final battle. So what have you guys got for that?
Well, I want to bring back the part where he has unlimited ammo with the Uzis, but apparently he decided to drop the Uzis for the M16 with the grenade launcher, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, he went to the next higher gun. In this. Yeah.
So he used that to kill some people. And you get the scene where in the hallway where he's with Rostov, and he's basically like playing cat and mouse with him. He gets the first. Basically where you get your excitement for your Chuck Norris. You get your only 2 kicks in the movie.
I know.
So then after that, he hides, and then all of a sudden, you see the guy he's basically getting angry. He's like, "Come on, just face me," And he picks up the launcher, the grenade launcher, or bazooka, whatever you want to call it. And he basically walks around. He gets to the end of this hallway, and all of a sudden he hears Chuck Norris. He's like, "Rostov, time to die." And he turns around. He's so much. He's gonna try to kill him with a bazooka. But
I popped though with him stalking Rostov, because he had that line. I admit, this time I had my America boner was 10 inches long. You know what I'm saying? Commie bastards going down.
so this is where he's about to die. He's gonna shoot him, but Chuck Norris has his own bazooka, his little portable RPG. And for how small that hallway is, Chuck Norris would have been dead. but I mean, but it was a great kill though. The guy gets blown up, and you just see chunks of his body flying out the window. But and Chuck Norris is just standing there unfazed. He's like, "Bombs have no effect on me. Screw you." And then it cuts the credits right there.
Yeah, I mean that's how you would end an 80s movie. See, we talk about 70s songs, going on forever, not knowing how to end. But we talk about 80s movies, they end as soon as the bad guy's dead. 30 seconds, boom, done.
But what's funny about this, the whole ending where the goons are exchanging fire with the military out there, that was more exciting than anything that was going on inside with Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris killed 2 guys, and then he killed Rostov. That was it.
Well, that's all it is. There's no final thing where we'd come back, after the commercial break, like on a TV show, and and what's the lesson we learned today from this, kids? Communism is bad. America wins, and anybody that doesn't believe that can die and will.
Well,
I mean, that's as simple as it gets.
You learn that unlimited ammo is possible in real life, and then Chuck Norris basically will kill you. You have no chance. He can take a bomb off while driving, and then throw it into another vehicle and drive away without it being blown up within 20 seconds.
I will say, as Americanism as this movie kind of is, with Chuck just going nuts on all these things, I like how they give him a variety of different kills and a lot of different situations to be the hero in, even if they're silly. I wonder if you would be able to do that in the movie today. You wouldn't. And
No.
Englentine's comment there about CGI, I think that's a big thing to it. So communism, again, we talked about when we mentioned on our Chernobyl podcast how that was definitely a thing. Nobody liked them. Cubans definitely did not like commies, so that was kind of like a slap in the face at the beginning of the movie, but it was a good setup.
I don't think modern day Hollywood would allow an
No.
anti-communist movie. Like, I think Chernobyl only got by because, well, it's Chernobyl and that's what happened. But otherwise, I don't think you can make a movie in Hollywood and get away with it. Maybe
No.
if you did kind of like the Atlas Shrugged thing and you kickstarted it and tried to find more conservative backers, but nowadays, not to mention the fact that they would go, well, you think all of this kind of people are terrorists, therefore. I mean, back in the day, of course, it was the commies, but if you were to do the terrorist thing now,
No.
yeah.
I mean, the only action movies you really see with anybody getting killed like multiple times, is the John Wick movies with Keanu Reeves. Before that, you had
They're really henchmen, I think, though, right?
Yeah.
There was Death Wish with Bruce Willis. He did the remake of that, and that kind of got so much flack, because
And it wasn't even that bad.
No.
It's just, people gave it flack before it even came out, thinking, "Oh, it's a pro-gun, and the schools got shot up." And I'm like, dudes, that's not even what the freaking movie's about. It's not a pro-gun movie.
But even before that, you had this was like early 2000s. You had the Transporter movies. You had that stuff. That was your Jason Statham stuff. That was your action movies. Liam Neeson with Taken. But I mean, nowadays, I don't think you might see another John Wick movie, but I don't know how much more action movies you're gonna see with bad guys just getting blown away with machine guns and stuff, or guns in general.
So long as they're white, okay.
The thing with the 80s, though, as we're wrapping it up here, Ronald Reagan at the time obviously had some great phrases. He the trust but verify we had talked about in the Chernobyl streams, how he used that. He would joke about his finger being on the red button, and people freaked out over that, for sending bombs and nuking people. But yeah, the whole thing in the 80s, man, people felt good. The commies sucked when we got off the gold standard in the 70s and for a long time, and then all of a sudden people had disposable income and money to spend on things, so people could actually spend more time actually caring about the massacres in Sri Lanka and the fish off the coast of Antarctica or something stupid that we can't even think about. There was a group for it, and everybody got a chance to put their interests where they wanted to and spend time on it. But damn it, seeing something like this, I'd look back on it and go, okay, and my preference for Chuck Norris movies are the early ones. That's just me. I still think this is a decent film, but I look back on it and I feel kind of sad going, it's a shame that a movie like this could be made today, because all the phrases that came out in the 80s, this one definitely is true. And what they should have closed with at the end was, guns don't kill people.
I do. I do.
Dude, there was one cool scene I forgot about when the goons were going to get the armored trucks. There's this mechanic in there. He's like, he's on the ground. He's like, "Oh, coffee!" And then he gets shot before he gets to get his coffee. It's just so, it just drove me like crazy. I was like, really? They threw that scene in there? Just they had this African male. He's like, the white guy, the security guard. Here's your coffee. He's dude, thanks. He goes to take a sip and he gets blown away.
Now people would want their vegan soy double, latte, frappo, mocha. I don't know, 2 ice cubes, and they'd argue about it. And then you'd have to buy. Back then, you had to have your friggin' coffee, and people would help you out.
It just blew my mind. It's like he's getting excited over coffee, and then he gets shot before he gets even get a chance to have it. I'm like, that's horrible.
America, you're going to pay for it. You're going to die. Let the man have his coffee. Okay.
Nowadays that'd be racist if you.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you really, really liked the Doctor, especially not having seen it. So we'll talk offline about what to see next. You got a final thought on it?
Silent Rage. You guys skipped over Silent Rage. That's another one of my favorite Chuck Norris's films. I know you guys are getting through with the martial arts and into the machine gun movies. You got Missing in Action coming up as well. So yeah, but Silent Rage needs to be talked about.
Yep. Missing in Action 2 is half martial arts and half machine gun fire.
Yeah, and Silent Rage is about as close as a horror film he's ever gotten to.
Yeah, we briefly discussed it one night when we did a twofer before we got going on these, but definitely is a good film that we could talk about more. The only final thoughts I kind of wanted to bring up here was I wanted to mention about how there's been a lot of listens to the show you guys did last week in my absence while I was out of town, the Batman 30th
Batman,
anniversary. And we've had some requests. We're all aware of that too. So I just want to let some people know that we have been discussing when we're actually going to do them, because we've had Commando's request, and we have another one we're going to hold off on saying what that is, but it's Life Force from 1995.
I know what Life Force is. I've seen Life Force a few times.
And you've told me about it
Yeah.
for 30 plus years, so I think it's kind of interesting. So we're trying to figure out when to put all these in, but we definitely want to get into Invasion USA, especially with the 4th of July coming up over here in States. I mean, been hearing fireworks for the past couple of days. I'm just like, it's perfect timing, just organically having this kind of movie. I
heard that what's his name was talking about it. Neurotic. He was talking about in base where he lives, they do it for a whole entire month. That's all you hear is fireworks, even before 4th of July. It's like all of June is just fireworks. Which I can relate to me. They have people doing that into July.
Well, there's some cultural considerations when it comes to fireworks and how long they last for days and weeks and everything else there too. So I'll simply leave it at that. You definitely would hear that here.
It's just funny because he said he jumps a lot too. Okay, and when he first living there, so then but now it's less you get to the point where you just get used to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's almost like an afterthought. Any final thoughts?
Nah, apparently I came in late, but I'm glad I got a couple of notes in. So,
it was a long one, but it was a goodie, as they say. So, hope everybody enjoyed it. Invasion USA. Don't mess with the U.S. Okay. Chuck Norris, obviously a guy we like. He's earned it. He's made his way up there. He's no entitled millennial snowflake. He's going to keep us safe, and so that way we can sleep at night.
I will say this for a final thought, though. This kind of the scene when they did where he was the suburban area, it kind of reminded me of Red Dawn a little bit.
Yes, definitely. I can see the comparison.
So Red Dawn may be another one that has to be visited before or on the 4th of July. That's just one of those movies. Also, it's a rah America film.
Yep.
Also, tonight we're doing a couple of streams. We're going to do a movie review, and then I've got the year so far in review. So,
actually, we're going to, in a moment here, we're going to shut off on this one. We're going to set up for the next one for those of you listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you stick around for the next one. We're going to do it. Look for the link here shortly. We're going to go over some of the more recent movies that have come out that we've seen and all that, and talk about them, because we've each got one or two that we wanted to bring up to you, and hopefully share it with you guys and see what thoughts you have about it. All right, for Englentine, as always, and Dr. Beck, myself, keep kicking it to the stream. Have a good night, guys. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Later, guys.